Hi guys, this is going to be the first video for 4-3.1, which is a series of different drawings that you guys are going to be creating on Inventor. So far, what you have learned is that the parts that you have been creating on Inventor are things that you can actually hold in your hand, but these parts that we're going to be doing will purely be 100% virtual or on a piece of paper. You won't be able to hold them or manipulate them, so you're going to have to use the skills that I've taught you so far to be able to translate what you see on a piece of paper and to put it on Inventor to make a 3D model. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at what we are doing today. Okay, so here is the actual document that we are working with. I have it I've put it on my screen so we can see both things at the same time. The first part that we're going to be creating is this 654 safety key. Now, most of the time when we are creating something, we usually work from the front and work our way back. But in this case, we're going to work our way from the bottom and work our way up. Okay, so we're going to make a rectangle that represents like this shape here, or a series of rectangles that represent these shapes here, and then a rectangle that is going to have this triangular shape at the end, and we're going to extrude it up and then add different parts. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so so far what I've done, and I know that my screen looks a little weird because I have it minimized. So let's go ahead and make a brand new sketch. Now, oh, come on. When we make a brand new sketch, we normally start on the XY plane, but today we're going to be working on the XZ plane. Now pay attention to what the view cube has done. It has rotated our view so that way the top or the front is to the left and the right is to the bottom. We want to move it so that way we read top like this, and the top is directly below this view right here. Okay, so I know that seems like a little bit of extra stuff, but it is what it is. Okay, so we're going to make two rectangles. So I want you guys to go ahead and click on your rectangle button and hover over like your origin, and then just move straight up and make a rectangle, and then make a rectangle that comes out this way. Okay, so we are in inches, so make sure that you did start a standard IPT. I should have said that from the beginning, but of course I forgot, but whatever. So let's go ahead and start dimensioning. So we're going to go ahead and dimension this. This is going to be 1.12, and I'm just grabbing all of the dimensions that I see over here. So 1.12 is this dimension, or this rectangle right here, and then its overall width from left to right, I'm just going to click on that, is going to be 4.7 or 470. Okay, now we are going to dimension its depth. So this rectangle back here, this is 2.4, so let's go ahead and dimension that. 2.4, enter, and then this one right here is 1.4, and so I'm going to click on that, 1.4. Now, one of the things that I haven't really taught you guys is constraints, okay, but today we'll kind of cover them, or we should have covered them in person, but you know, here we are going to be using them. So the first one that we're going to use is coincident. Now what coincident does is it moves one thing over, like one point on top of another point, or one line on top of another line. Like it's going to share points. So I want to hover right here where these two things are, or these two green dots are. Those are the midpoints of the two rectangles that I've drawn. So I want to click on one and click on the other, and now these rectangles are perfectly centered with each other. I then want to click on the center point of this and move it back over to my origin. Now once all the lines have turned black, that's what I want, but I'm not quite done. Okay, what I see here over on this part is that I do have a pointed end. Okay, so I need to turn this over here into a triangle. So I'm going to go to my line tool. I'm going to hover right there where it lights up green, and I'm just going to make a quick triangle. Okay, something like that. Just make sure that the points are on the outside of your part. Okay, so once it's like that, I'm going to dimension it. The thing that it tells us is that the angle between, and this is going to be a little bit difficult, so let me undo what I did and let me try and do this again. So alright, so I'm going to over exaggerate the angles that I have here. Okay, so hopefully now I can fix it. What I want to do is I want to turn this into a 60-degree angle. All I did was click on this line and this line, and I'm going to make this a 60-degree angle. Okay, so once I have that, that is, it's not perfect, but it's going to work. So if I can like move things around, it would work. Okay, next I'm going to use my equals constraint. And what an equals constraint does is it makes two lines be exactly equal. And so once I do that, it evens it out, everything's nice and pretty, and these two lines are black, and that's basically what I want, because black means that everything that I've drawn is constrained. Okay, so once I have that, I'm then going to click on my trim button. Okay, so trim will do exactly like what the picture shows. It has it's some scissors, and we're just going to click and click on these lines here to get rid of them on the outside of our rectangle. Okay, so once you have that, something like this, then this is perfect. This is exactly what we wanted, and everything looks great. Okay, so go ahead and finish the sketch. And yes, I have a floating line here and some other things, but when we go to extrude this, everything should come out correct. And I say should, but you never know. So I'm going to click on my different profiles. I have my rectangle, I have this one here, and then I'm also going to select this triangular shape. All right, so once you have that, we are going to extrude, and we're not going to extrude by the full height, the 190, because it doesn't go 190. I'm only going to extrude this to what this bottom section is over here, which is 1.12. So once you have that, just type in 1.12 and say okay, and that's basically what we want. Okay, so now we're going to work on this back section over here and give it the height that we need, and just to make sure that everything looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to make a sketch on this front face over here. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to project geometry, and I want to highlight this green or this square here, and I want to use that square for my reference. And when I go to rectangle, I'm just going to click here and move it up. And then now I'm just going to give myself some dimensions, and this is going to be 1.9. And I know I'm moving kind of fast, but again, you can always rewind the video and kind of catch up, and just make sure that the width of this is 1.12, and this is perfect. All right, so once you have that, we're going to extrude, and we're going to extrude in this direction. And you see how this turns red? We don't want it to be red, so make sure that the output, this output selection is selected to join, and we want this to be perfectly 240. Okay, so yes, there are other ways that we could have done this, but remember, like I tell you, it doesn't matter how you get to where you're going, just as long as you get there. Okay, so we have three cuts that three cuts that we're going to make. I'm going to combine this circle here with this cutout here. So I'm going to make a sketch on this face, or a brand new sketch right on this face, and I'm going to go to project my geometry. I'm going to click here and click on that. Okay, so that way I can use all of this for reference. I'm going to create a circle. Kind of, it doesn't tell us exactly where. I mean, it does, but we don't want Inventor to tell us exactly where. We want to make this circle 0.5. Oops, 0.5. Enter. Okay, and then we're going to dimension it. And we're going to dimension this from the bottom. This is 0.56. And then, from this line here, this left line to the middle is going to be 1.38. Okay, so we have that. And then we're going to make this cutout right here, this little cutout, we're going to make it with a rectangle. So I'm just going to make a rectangle, and I'm not attaching it to anything. I want to be able to dimension it, and I'm going to go to dimension. The height of this rectangle is 0.44, and the width of this rectangle is 0.76. Okay, so once you have this, this is perfect. Finish your sketch, and we're going to go to Extrude, and we're going to click here and there. Now look at the way that the direction is going. We don't want it to come out, we want it to change directions to go in the opposite direction, so that way it actually cuts through the object, and it already changes it over to cut. And I don't want to give it a distance, I want to tell it to cut through all. I want it to cut over everything. So I'm going to change this to through all. Click there and say OK. All right, we have 2 more cuts to make. So I'm going to make a cut here I'm going to make a sketch here, I'm sorry, and I'm going to project my geometry right there. Go to create, go to rectangle, and we're going to make a rectangle. Okay, make sure it doesn't connect to anything other than the top line, and we're going to dimension this. This is, okay, hold on. This is 1 inch wide and 0.4 inch deep. So let's go to that, and I'm going to click on this bottom line and tell it 1 inch wide, 0.4 deep. And if I look right here, it tells us that it's 0.70 from this furthest edge, or this front edge. So from there to there, that is 0.70, and it's perfectly centered. And we're going to finish our sketch and extrude, and I'm going to select that, change its direction, and say OK, because it's cutting through everything. Next, I just need to add this last rectangle on the back, and it doesn't really matter where I do it. I'm just going to go ahead and select this face right there to draw. All right, so project geometry, and I want to select all of this. See how there's 3 highlighted sections? Select all of that, and we are going to make a rectangle. So I'm just going to but make my rectangle. I'm not attaching it to anything. All it's attached to is this line up here, and none of the other lines have been selected. Okay, so once you do that, go ahead and click dimension, and we're going to locate it right there. This is going to be 0.5. Okay, the width of this is 1.4. I'm sorry, the depth, not the width. And then this width is 0.5. Oh, I'm sorry, 0.4. So once you have that, finish your sketch, and then go to extrude, and make sure that you select everything. Okay, so that way you have something that looks like this, but we want to change its direction and make sure that it cuts all the way through the part. So I chose through all, and I'm just going to say OK, and everything looks great. So this part is done. So once you have this part done, we're going to go ahead and save it, and I want you guys to save it as safety key. Safety key. All right, so once you have that, then we are good. In the next video, I'll show you how to make the next part, and then how to lay out the parts on a sheet. If you guys have any questions, just raise your hand and I'll come over and I will do my best to help you. I mean, I always do my best to help you, but you guys are pretty good about learning from these videos. So if you do have questions, just let me know. All right, guys, have fun. Bye.